Right then, guys, welcome to Rein in Horse Racing, a special feed today in association with Racing State Island. It's all eyes on the final jumps festival of the season, which is the Punchestown Festival, which is going to be starting next week. And with all that in mind, I'm delighted to be joined by a man who kind of needs no introduction, really, but I'll give him a small one. Over 800 career wins in his career, an assistant trainer at the all-conquering Closutton stable. It's a big welcome to Patrick Mullins. Patrick, first of all, thanks for taking your time out to speak to us today, and obviously you're busy and things like that. And I'm sure it's a very busy time for you and all the team at the minute, planning for both the Punchestown Festival and obviously the UK runners as well.
Yeah, a really busy time of year. Obviously, once Maximus won the HRR National and put us in the contention for the British title, things came up a notch. So we've been to Ayr and we're in Fosnass today, and we're going to be in Perth and Ludlow during the week and on to Sandown then.
UK tour of Willie Mullins then. So before we sort of touch on Punchestown and Patrick, I just want to touch on, and I suppose really congratulate you and Willie and the whole team on what has been, even by your standards, probably a remarkable year. I mean, how much would it mean to the team to gain the UK Trainers Championship as well as everything you've already achieved this year?
Look, it has been an incredible year, and look, the UK title is only on the cards because Maximus won the HRR National. Obviously, 500,000. That's a huge boost there. So, if we could get over the line, because we went very close 8 or 9 years ago and didn't manage it. If we could get over the line, I mean, to emulate Vincent O'Brien, he did it 2 years in a row in the 50s. So not even fully emulation, but half emulation. That would be incredibly special. I mean, Vincent O'Brien is the legend in horse racing, not just a legend. So it'd be an incredibly proud moment if we can do it.
I saw a little hint there that you did it for 2 years on the bounce, so hopefully we might see it again next year. But anyway, listen, let's get stuck into to Punchestown for now. And what we'll do is have a look at the graded races, because I think if we looked at everything, it'd just take up too much time, and the amount of entries that you're going to have is going to be astronomical. So we've split into different categories. So we'll start off with the novice hurdlers. There's 3 grade runs over the 5 days. You've got the 2 mile champion novice, the 2 mile 3 champion novice, and then also the 3 mile as well. So just looking at the 2 mile and the sort of the lower end or the shorter end of the trip horses that you've got, we'll have to start off with Ballyburn. Super impressive winner of the Gallaghers at Cheltenham. First of all, how is he, and is the intention for him to sort of run in one of the races?
Yeah, look, he came out of Cheltenham really well. I think the form in Cheltenham hasn't been particularly franked by the place horse in nature, but obviously his form from Punchestown last year and from the DRF is hugely strong. So yeah, no decision on where he goes yet. Whether he'll drop back again to 2 miles, obviously he won over 2 miles at DRF, with a view to maybe looking at the champion hurdle next year. That's a possibility. But he already won a point before we bought him. So you know, at his age, do you kick on and go chasing with a view to the Gold Cup? I mean, it looks like we have Stateman and Lossiemouth for the champion hurdle next year. Constitution Hill is obviously there as well. So it's a decision that, in typical Willie fashion, will be left in the last moment. But I wouldn't be surprised if he came back to 2 miles for Punchestown and have a little peek. But there's no decision on it just yet.
Yeah. And then just touching on the 2 mile brigade that you have, obviously Tully Hill was impressive at Punchestown, didn't really fire at Cheltenham. Asian Master seemed to run an absolute blinder at Cheltenham, and then Mystical Power's also in there as well, Mirazar West. Is it going to be a matter of probably just seeing how the next couple of days go and then work out where, like, who's going to be running where and things like that?
Yeah, I think Asian Master run a blinder to spin officers, and I think Willie is probably keen to step him up in trip. His pedigree is all stamina, so he could technically improve for going up in trip. So he'll be a fast one when he goes up to 2.5. Mystical Power is obviously very good in Aintree. We'll have to see, you know, at the weekend. You know, he seems to come out of Aintree very well, but he obviously was in Cheltenham, got a hard race in Aintree. So whether or not we go to Punchestown, we'll have to see near the time. Sorry, the third horse there was Tully Hill. Yes, he disappointed in Cheltenham, but he was coming back quite quick. His run before Cheltenham, I think, was maybe it was 3 weeks or maybe even a little less, which is not something we normally do. And he might just have been a bit flat in Cheltenham. He ran very well in Punchestown last year when he was second to A Dream to Share. Gave A Dream to Share a good fright, and obviously he won the Moscow Flyer in Punchestown. So the track that suits him well. And I just wouldn't give up on him just yet.
And is Mirazar West as well? So I know he won the other day. Is he one that you might be looking to run as well?
Yeah, Mirza West. I think he seems to be a happier horse, making the running. He seems to go quite well going. Last time out in Fairyhouse, going right-handed. I don't think there's any need to step him up and trip at the moment because he's quite keen going, a little bit like Fernie Holloway's brother. So he's still in, and whether or not he goes Punchestown, I'm not sure. But I imagine if he does, it'll be 2 miles rather than 2.5.
And then looking at some of the more staying types that you've currently got, a couple that probably disappointed. Now, whether this might be a ground thing, you might be able to give us a bit more of an idea. High Class Hero and Reading Tommy Wrong, obviously both were very disappointing at Cheltenham. I'm assuming High Class Hero, I think he came to the festival on the back of maybe running on some better ground than the heavy ground that it was on the Wednesday. Do you think maybe a better ground you might see a bit more of what we saw pre-Cheltenham with him?
Yeah, he's quite a light framed horse, and I think he saves his best for good ground. I thought he just raced too keenly with me in Cheltenham. I think the occasion, the atmosphere got to him. He never dropped the bridle, and I think a combination of probably soft ground and running too keen. But he does handle soft ground, but I think he's better on good ground. So definitely he would be one that better ground will suit him well. And Reading Tommy Wrong, nothing came to light as to regards his bad run in Cheltenham, and then he was pulled out by the vets before Aintree. So we're hoping to get him back to Punchestown, but we'll see. We gave him for these easy days. We'll start building him back up. But nothing obvious came to light after Cheltenham, which was disappointing because we think an awful lot of him. And if we do get him to Punchestown, for me, he's still the one to beat in that 3 mile division.
Yeah, just a quick word on Dancing City. It's had quite a tough, well, I won't say tough campaign, but quite a busy campaign this year. Just seems to just keep improving all the time. Is he one that you might maybe just hold back on now rather than put him into another 3 mile again?
Yeah, look, again, we'll have to see later in the week how well he is. But he was tired after Aintree. He didn't know he had a race. It was a real gruel-up race. I think the pace was probably a little bit too quick for the conditions in that race. It wasn't in a lot of other races, but he does seem to be improving with his racing. He's improving every time he goes up and trip, and I can't wait to see him go fenced next year. For me, he looks a real Brown advisory type, and he's won 2 Grade 1s this year, so there's no real need for him to go to Punchestown. But we'll see. If Willie's happy with him, we'll let him take a chance because he's going to have 3 months holidays after anyway.
And just a quick note on your Juvenile while we're talking, obviously on the hurdle side. I think you've got Cargill, Stormheart, and Bunting. I think in the current entries for the Juvenile race. Any intention of those turning up?
Yeah, I'd imagine all of those will turn up. Milesborough's gone for some holidays in Martinstown. He's a very big horse, so he did his job. We'll let him on. Cargill, look, she was so keen in Aintree. And she did give herself a hard race, but again, if she's fitting well, we'll let her take her chance, and she could even go on to Ortoy a bit like Gallimar So did last year. So there's that possibility with her. For me, Stormheart didn't run to his best in Cheltenham, and I think he's the one now who will bounce back to form. I think Punchestown, he obviously won around there. I think better ground will suit him. He's a proper flat, old school juvenile in that he's small. He's from the flat, and I think Punchestown was quite a quick track. I think would suit him very well. Bunting has just disappointed us a little bit over hurdles. He needs to get his act together. But for me, he's one to watch out for when he goes back in the flash.
Great stuff. Right, so we'll move on to the novice chases. 2 Grade 1s at the festival. You've got the 2 mile and the 3 mile novice chase. We'll start off with the Barberstown 2 mile. Mr. Policeman's an interesting one, and I want to have a quick chat about him. He's obviously entered into both the 2 mile and the 3 mile, race. Would this depend on if Gaelic Warrior goes to Sandown or not, as to whether he goes into the 2 mile or the 3, or do you have a plan for the trip with him, or is it a bit of a up in the air?
Very much up in the air with Mr. Policeman. He's he disappointed us early in the season. Didn't seem to be the most natural of jumpers in his races, but he seems to be getting the hang of it now. Yeah, I think at the moment the plan is probably El Fabiolo goes to Sandown, which would mean Gaelic Warrior will probably stay and go to Punchestown. Whether Willie will step Mr. Policeman up to 3 miles, I'm not sure. He's 1/2-2, so he could. or whether he goes in as backup against Gaelic Warrior, I'm not sure. I think he could also be in the 2.5 mile novice handicap chase, and we have won that race with top weights before, so that's another option. And if he did turn up in that handicap chase, the 2 mile 5 novice handicap chase, he'd probably be a player there. But again, his jumping would have to sharpen up a little bit from running in small field novice races.
I think that's the grade 3 handicap in it. I think is he top end 140s now, I think, rated at the minute. So that probably put towards top end of the weights, won't it?
We've had a good record with top weights in that race. The likes of Steer, Punch, and maybe Cadmium, but it's a race you can carry top weight and win in.
Yeah. And just a word on Factor File. I know he's not obviously entered. How is he? As we said, he's come out of his races well.
Yeah, again, just like with Malsborough, I think JP was happy the 2 horses won in Cheltenham, and with a view to next year, he wanted to give them a holiday, which is fine. So we'll be bringing them back in the autumn with a view to getting them back to Punchestown in Cheltenham next year.
Very good, very good. Right, we'll just come on to the open hurdlers. I know you mentioned already about State Man. Obviously, Lossy Mouth is also entered in the champion hurdle on the, I think, is that the Saturday? I think it is, of the festival. Is the intention to run them both, or will it probably be more Lossy Mouth more than likely go to the mares and State Man will take his champion hurdle?
I would imagine Willie will split them up. I imagine Lossy Mouth will go with the mares and State Man for champion hurdle. But the champion hurdle looks like it's going to put up an awful lot this year. But I would imagine for the time being we'd keep them apart, and next season when Lossy Mouth is a year older, they'll take a chance. 5 rows have a very bad record running against their elders, so I think it's a great option to have with those mares to not have to put them into real open companies straight away.
And just a word on Sir Gerhard. Obviously came back at the minimum trip and won last time out. Again, I think he's entered in the stayers hurdle. So would you be looking at pushing him back up again in trip now? He's got a bit of confidence under his belt after his win, or will he be probably staying more to the Oxford trip again?
We're just beginning to wonder with Sir Gerhard, is he a speed horse? I mean, look, I think a lot of Jeremy's don't maybe get 3 miles, and obviously he won the Neptune, but a lot of those Neptune horses end up being 2 milers. So I'd say it could be quite possible he could turn up in the champion hurdle, and that we might just stop trying to stretch him out in the trip.
Yeah, do it that way. We did get a few messages when we knew that you were coming on from the Monkfish fan club, just asking how he was and just his overall health. Really, to be fair, he seems to be a horse that everyone seems to like really catch the imagination of a lot of people as Monkfish, and obviously just thought I'd just check in to see how he was as well.
Yeah, good. He came out of entry fine. Look, he's staying sound, but again, it's hard for horses when they've missed so much time. He's coming back probably past his prime, so he's probably not as good as he was, but he ran reasonably well in entry. It was a very big ask for him in the Gold Cup, but I looked after him and he didn't have too hard a time there. So he could turn up again in Punchestown, and if not there, I imagine he could go maybe for a French champion hurdle in Auteuil. So he's sound, he's in good health, but he's probably not going to scale the heights that he'd look like he might before his injury woes.
What stage? Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Right, let's move on to the champion chase and the Gold Cup. So there's only one place to start. Is Galopin Des Champs. How is the champ? How is he doing? Is he looking fresh and well for next week?
He is. Adam Connolly looks after him. Says he's booking and kicking, and he's in super form. He came out of the Gold Cup in really, really well. It was probably a slightly easier race this year in that last year they went a very strong gallop. So look, he danced every dance this year. He turned up. He went to John Durkin. He went to Leopardstown at Christmas for the Savills. Went to the Irish Gold Cup, gone to Cheltenham. So we'll go to Punchestown again. Obviously, he got beaten there last year. But yeah, I think we'd probably maybe just ride a bit differently. I think maybe last year, Braveman's Game and Galopin Des Champs might have got involved together a bit soon, and it might have suited Fast or Slow being ridden to run well, coming from off the pace. So hopefully, with maybe slightly different tactics, we can avenge last year's defeat.
And you've got lots entered in the for the champion chase over 2 miles. Obviously, El Fabriol, as you mentioned, is probably going to be heading to Sandown. That also brings in horses like Dino Blue, who ran a good race in the mares chase. Any sort of standouts for you with the absence of El Fabiola, who could just slot into that that spot for him in the 2 mile division?
Yeah, look, with him, if he goes to Sandown, it leaves this race wide open. But Blue has obviously been second to him before. and she's a high class mare. Gentleman to Me, he's obviously second champ chase. He's obviously a Grade 1 winner as well. So there are two horses that could well fit into his boots. Captain Guinness is in there, but he could turn up and stand on either. So it maybe is a race that lacks a bit of star power without El Fabiola, but Dino Blue and Gentleman Me are both Grade 1 winners, and they'd be more than able to step up, I'm sure.
And just finally, so just onto the bumper horses, and it's always a fascinating division, is especially when you're coming towards the back end, when you look at stuff like Jasmine Devoe, Port Julian, and one that I was really impressed with. I think you rode him on debut was, and pardon my French pronunciation, Copec de Bord, I think you say it. He seemed really impressive on his debut. I know you were riding at the time. Did he give you a good feel, Patrick?
Yeah, Copec de Bord, fine big horse, beautiful pedigree. And put in a fantastic performance with Berryhouse. Look, I don't know how good the form was. The second horse was beaten 2 or 3 times in England, well beaten. So, but he could only do what he did. Whether he turns up here or not, I'm not sure. It's really a big ask for a 4-year-old. I'd be hoping he doesn't, because I wouldn't fancy making the choice. But he's definitely a horse for the future. But look, Jasmine Devoe won in Cheltenham. He's complete opposite. Very small, very feminine looking horse. He's quite small, quite short, quite narrow. You wouldn't pick him out in sales ring or in a paddock even. But he's tough, he's hardy, and he's got a great turn of foot. I think Punchestown would suit him very well. Obviously, he's the one to beat coming from Cheltenham. Port Julian was very impressive in Goran. I think the second horse was very well fancied there, along with the third. But I'd be hoping that he might go for the winners of 1 on the Thursday, the day after, and the race that Ballyburn won last year. I'd be hoping he might turn up there. So he might have looked very impressive, but I think there's plenty more on the bonnet.
Right, very good. Right, well, listen, we've covered quite a lot there in quite a short space of time, and I understand obviously you've got to get off. You've got to ride in about 45 minutes or so. So I'll let you shoot up. But just before you go, just very quickly, just leave us with, if you had your choice of any horse in any of the races, 1 hurdler, 1 chaser, and 1 bumper horse that you're most looking forward to for the week.
Well, look, I suppose we'll go outside of the obvious, maybe for the bumper horse. I am really looking forward to Fort Julian, hopefully in the winners race. And there's a homebred horse called Chart Topper who would run on maybe a Saturday in the unraced bumper. He's goes quite well. Look, for the chasers, I mean, how could you not pick Galloping the Chumps or Gaelic Warrior? So it's the obvious ones there. And with regards to the hurdlers, I am really looking forward to getting back an Astro Diamond for the mayor's hurdle. It didn't go to plan in Aintree. We changed tactics. We tried something new. It backfired. I still think Lossmouth obviously sets this huge standard, but I don't think she's that far behind Lossmouth. But I could be very wrong there, but I still retain faith anyway.
And that's her last race, isn't it? I believe, is she now in fall?
Yes, she is in fall. So it's probably be her finale.
Final swan. So we'll hopefully goes out with a bang then. Right, Patrick, I'll leave you be. I know you've got a race to hopefully go win on. So thanks so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll probably catch up with you next week over in Punchestown.
Great. Thanks so much, Craig. Best of luck.
Cheers, mate.